The following is a promotional preview for Firewall.
Hello, Chaz Marler from Pair of Dice Paradise here. Today I'm going to be previewing the upcoming game Firewall by Sarcastic Robot Games. In Firewall, you play the part of an elite hacker, hacking your way into an advanced computer system, while simultaneously anti-hacking other hackers by hacking their hacks. What I'm trying to say is that everything I know about hacking I learned from the Wachowskis. And it isn't much. But I do know board games. So let's take the red dice and see how far the rabbit hole goes in this preview of Firewall. Alright, first up, please note that my preview copy uses prototype game components. The final version of Firewall's components may be different than those featured in this demonstration. Firewall plays up to 4 players, and in preparation for this preview, I played the game with people ranging in age from 7 to 57, and every age level I played it with was able to appreciate the game. So we're off to a good start. In this preview, I'll be demonstrating a 2-player game just for simplicity's sake. But no matter the number of players, the objective is to hack into the central mainframe in order to run the highest number of your programs on its available ports. And this will be achieved by rolling dice to generate offensive programs and also to generate defensive firewalls, backdoors, and spikes. It's like software jiu-jitsu. I know Kung Fu. Players start with 10 dice. These dice start out set aside in a non-play area called storage. On their turn, a player will take 3 dice out of storage and roll them. One of the rolled dice is then selected and put into play by connecting it to one of the ports. If the player doesn't like any of their options, they can put one of the dice they just rolled back into storage and re-roll the remaining dice. This can be repeated as long as the player has dice available to roll. There's also another location that a die can be placed. Players have access to a temporary location called RAM, where they can store 1 die for later use. The die saved in RAM is set aside, and it can't be played directly from its RAM location, but it can be swapped with any of the dice that the player rolls on their turn, then played from there. Think of RAM as a place to set aside a die that isn't useful to you yet, but may be useful on a later turn, like a splinter in your mind. Once the active player is satisfied with their dice roll, they select one and play it on one of the available ports in play. Now the object of the game is to take control of the most number of ports. Each game will have 2 or more open ports available. In this example, I'll be showing a game with 2 ports. Each of the 6-sided dice used in the game is the same. 3 of the sides are numbered 1, 2, and 3. These numbers represent a number of your programs running on the port that the dice is placed on. Placing one of these dice onto an empty port installs that many more of your programs onto that port. The player with the highest number of their programs running on a port controls it. I don't even see the code anymore. All I see now is yellow, green, red dice. For example, on his turn, the yellow player could place a 3 that he rolled on this port. Yellow is now in control of that port. If, over the course of a subsequent turn, the green player was to place a 1 on this port, and then on their next turn they roll another 1 and place it on the port, oh, déjà vu. Then the yellow player would still be in control of it, because control is determined by the total number of the player's programs running on the port, not the number of dice. Let's say that on the green player's next turn, they roll and play a 2 on this port as well. The total number of programs green is running on this port is now 4, which is higher than yellow's 3, so green takes control of the port. But yellow can get tricky and can block any further progress by other players on a port by placing one of their firewalls on it. The firewall isn't worth any number of programs, so in this case, green is still in control of the port. But the firewall prohibits any player, other than the owner of the firewall, from playing additional programs on the port. So on Green's turn, she couldn't add another program to this port. But on Yellow's next turn, he could add another program, such as this too, thereby taking control of the port. But as with any rules of a computer system, some of them can be bent, others can be broken. The Green player can regain access to the port by playing a backdoor on the other player's firewall. Dodged this. This effectively cancels out the firewall for the Green player and only the Green player, allowing them to again play their own programs and firewalls on that port. Good. Adaptation, improvisation. But Green's weakness is not in her technique. If a player wants to completely lock down a port, they can play a second firewall on it. If a port contains two firewalls of the same color, then it is considered to be locked down, and nobody may play any further dice on that port, including the owner of the firewalls that locked it down. See, fate, it would seem, is not without a sense of irony. Another option that the player has is to play a spike. Spikes delete any dice in play. Both the spike and the targeted dice are removed from the game. One of these dice has a future, and one of them does not. Any dice in play on a port can be spiked, with the exception of ports that have been locked down by two firewalls of the same color. Those are closed and are off limits to everything. Gameplay continues until all players are out of dice or all ports have been locked down. Players then score points based on the number of ports that they control. If players are tied, then they compare the total number of programs on the winning players' ports. And if still tied, then the player with the most dice wins. And that's how the game ends. But I didn't come here to tell you how this is going to end. I came here to tell you how it's going to begin. I've shown you what Firewall is and how it plays. Where we go from there is a choice I leave up to you. I lose. Not like this. Not like this.